Excellent, thank you very much. Right, I'll make a start. My name's Richard Young. I'm an artist and I've been painting professionally since 2003. I've been painting with a palette knife since 2005, and I love presenting and giving tutorials and events, hence why I'm here today. Okay, so today's session is going to be an introduction to knife painting. I'm going to go through a few basic techniques and we're going to do a fairly quick painting. We've only got an hour, so it's not going to be the level of detail of the paintings that you see on my website, but the principles and the technique are exactly the same. Okay, so the reason why I paint with a knife, I'll just mention, is that I found that I was wearing brushes out very frequently. I was going through 3, 4, 5 sables in just one painting because I like the very fine hairs, and it's time consuming cleaning the brushes and changing them for the different colours, whereas with a knife you just wipe it on a tissue and continue and off you go. It takes a little bit of getting used to do the fine detail, but I enjoy it. I find it quite challenging and exciting. Okay, so as I say, we've only got an hour today, so it's going to be a fairly contemporary painting. We're going to paint a beach scene. I'll just show you my studio. So we're going to paint here. I hope everyone can see okay. You'll be able to see the palette where the paint is. I've got a reference image here on my computer. I have a small tablet that I use when I'm painting, and I can zoom in and out of reference images. I can change them for whatever I need, and then I've not got things pinned all over my wall. My easel is mounted on the wall because I like to stand up and I like to always paint at eye level, so I can move the painting up and down and I can move side to side to suit how I like to paint. I find it difficult to paint sitting down, so that's why I'm here. I have lighting that bounces off the ceiling so that I've got no direct light, and I've got a large window, so it helps me there. Okay, so we're going to make a start. We're going to do a beach scene. It's a Caribbean beach scene to cheer us up on a gloomy day and sort of break the monotony of COVID and lockdown and everything else. We can imagine that we're on a Caribbean beach, so to speak. So we'll make a start with the sky. Forgive me if my screen here goes off from time to time. It refreshes every 15 minutes. It goes dead, so you have to touch it to continue. Okay, so we're going to have a light blue paint for the sky. When I did this one, I did quite a dark blue paint, but I'm going to make it a little lighter today. In fact, I think I'll put more paint. Okay, right. I'm going to start with quite a large knife because I'm applying the paint fairly quickly and thickly, and I want to cover this area of the background as quickly as I can. So it's a large knife that we're using now. Always got an elbow so that I don't touch the canvas, and I'm painting in acrylics. Normally all my paintings are oil, but this one's in acrylics so that it dries quicker, which I want to do today. And when I'm doing any art classes, I always use acrylics. Then if paint gets on me or anyone else, it easily comes off in the wash, whereas oil is not quite so forgiving. Right, now for anyone that hasn't painted with a knife before, how I apply the paint. I have the paint fairly evenly on my palette so that I can take paint on the edge of the knife and I can apply the paint in either direction, the same as buttering toast. It's identical principle. I can move up and down and apply the paint. Okay, so I get the paint on one edge of the knife, depending which direction I want to go, and then I continue. So I'm going to apply the paint for the entire sky. The general rule of thumb when you're painting a landscape or photographing a landscape, it's a rule of 2/3. If you're focusing on the sky, you have 2/3 of the sky and 1/3 of the beach or the land, or the other way around. If you're focusing on the land in a landscape painting, my focus is mainly on the sky with the tree that the hammock is hanging from. So I'm going to do approximately 2/3 of sky. Okay, so I'll do this as quickly as I can so that we can move on. Forgive me if I don't answer questions, by the way. So I'll answer them all at the end, but I may not see it as I'm painting. If I see it, I'll answer, but if I don't see it, I'm not even ignoring you. I just can't see it. I'm going fairly quickly. Now, we're going approximately 2/3 of the way down. So I'll create the horizon. I've not drawn anything. Normally when I'm doing the art classes, I get the students to just draw a horizontal line, but I'll just guess where it's got to be. Okay. It doesn't have to be exact because we can correct it when we do the C, then we can get it a little more accurate. So a little bit more light blue paint. When I'm doing my own paintings, I take my time and I go into a lot more detail. This particular painting, I call it Life's a Beach. I've sold the original, but it took me about 9 hours to do in oil over a few day period in a few sessions. So it's a lot slower than this one, but of course I've got more time. I wasn't in such a hurry. So we'll have a darker blue for the sea. Now the horizon, the sea is always a really deep blue. And it gets lighter as it comes to you, but we'll have a deep blue there. So it's going to be fairly rough in places. As I say, it's a little contemporary, but that's fine. This one we want to get approximately horizontal. If it's not quite level, then the sea must have been quite rough that day. And that's fine. Now, my figurative oil paintings that I do mostly, they tend to take me around 30 to 40 hours over a period of about a month. So the sea will get lighter as it comes towards us. Lighter there. In fact, I think we'll add a little bit of darker blue at the top of the sky. If you generally look at the sky, it tends to be a deeper blue above you, and as it gets towards the horizon, it gets lighter, where the clouds are over a lesser space. Forgive me, I'm going fairly quickly here. I want to get a covering down as quickly as I can so that we can move on and focus on the foreground. Nothing like the paintings I do that you'll see on my stand. They're much more detailed. Right. Then the sea, as the sea gets closer to the shore, it's a little more green. I've got this one, turquoise blue. This is quite a good one. The reason being, the blue sea, it's blue because it reflects the sky. As it gets over the sand is yellow, the sea is blue reflecting the sky. So yellow and blue make green. So I'm using quite a large knife for this. People say it's a palette knife. It's not really a palette knife. A palette knife is for mixing paint. It's a painting knife, but we can call it a palette knife. It's okay. Right, so I'll move that out of the way. Normally I would tear a sheet off the canvas, of the palette knife, sorry, the palette. But I'm not going to do that. I'm saving time. Right, I'm going to use a couple of colours as the sea goes onto the sand, and then for the sand itself, I'm going to use a light yellow. I'll have a clean tissue there. Right, so I've got a yellow as the sea meets the shore. And the sand is there. I think it's just Naples yellow. Doesn't really matter, fairly light. And then for where the sand is, I'm going to use, what colour is it? It's buff titanium. Buff titanium is a very light yellow, but there's a little bit of grey in it, but it's lighter, and it's more like the colour of the sand. Okay. And then we're going to have white as the sand is closer to us. That's the dream for a Caribbean holiday. White sand. So we're going to use white. How should we do this? Go the other way around. As I say, the original painting, I painted in oils, so I could take my time, and there was no rush. But because we don't have long today, I'm painting in acrylics because I want the background to dry before I do the foreground. Right, we're going to just blend that in a little. A little too white at the bottom, so that's okay. Right, we'll put some clouds on. My screen's gone blank. It goes blank every 15 minutes. To remind me that I have to touch it. Right, so we'll put some clouds on. They're going to be fairly loose clouds. I'm not going into a lot of detail. It's just wispy clouds drifting by. We're not going to do the sort of clouds that I've got outside. And it's just to add a little to the painting. And I'm just lightly putting the cloud on. On the horizon, we'll have a couple that are fairly low. Not really too important. I think I've changed my knife now. I'll move on to one that's a diamond knife, because the bottom edge of the knife is going to catch the top of the sea there, and I don't want it to do that. So just a few wispy clouds on the horizon. The paint is starting to dry already. I'll have one more cloud. Thin wispy clouds, cumulus stratus, is it, or something? I forget now. Right, so that's okay for the background. I need some waves as the water's getting close to the shore. So I will change this because it's getting a little messy now. Put that knife out of the way, don't need it anymore. Fresh tissue. Right, so we'll do some waves. I'm not taking too much time because we've only got an hour. So it's very loose. At the end of the painting, I will show you a close-up image of my canvas so that you can see. Right, that's fine. Okay, so we've got a basic background. We've got 3 foreground elements really. We've got the tree trunk. It's the classic Caribbean tree that sweeps out over the sand. We've got the leaves of the palm sort of hanging out and catching the sun. And then we've got the hammock hanging underneath. So we've got 3 main elements. The first thing I'm going to do is the tree trunk. Okay, I'll move this out of the way. I'm trying to take a few shortcuts here, so forgive me because I've not got much time. Right, so there's 3 main colours here. There's white for the highlights, there's grey for the main colours of the palm tree. I would normally put a little bit of brown in, but I'm going to leave it grey for today to simplify things. And there's black for the underside of the tree, so that where the shade, where the main shadows are. So I need some black. I don't need too much. I need some grey. That's going to be the main colour of my tree. Maybe that's enough. And some white for the highlights. Now, most of the palm trees, they are brown, but they're very grey. It's a very grey brown. I could possibly just put some a little bit of brown in. So add to that. So I'll mix a little bit of brown in with the grey. When I'm painting in my own paintings, I actually never mix paint on my palette. I mix all the time on the painting itself. I don't know why, it's just the way I've always done it. But when you can do that with oil, with acrylics, it's a little more difficult. It dries so quickly. So if we look at the curvature, it's classic palm tree. It hangs down and then it curves up, getting thinner all the time. And then we've got the big bushy palm on the top there. Now, when I'm doing an art class, if I do this painting, I ask the students to just draw a single line or a double line where the palm tree goes. And once we've got the paint on, we can then adjust it to get a nice smooth curve. So what I'll do, I'll put a dot approximately where I want it to stop, which is around, let's stop it about there. And then we'll have it swoops down. When I'm doing the art classes, I stop after each session and I wander around the attendees and I help them out with anything and give them pointers and tips. So the paint, I've got time for my background to dry. Now I haven't put this, so I'm just getting the top of the tree trunk relatively smooth. I'll allow some browns to go in because they're a grey brown palm trees. I've lived in Saudi Arabia for a number of years, and I absolutely love palm trees. My favourites are the hand palms, not this type of palm that I'm painting now. The ones that each palm leaf is like a hand. So what we should do is get the thickness of the tree trunk approximately right. Doesn't have to be totally accurate, it should be approximately there. And it's getting thicker all the time as the tree trunk gets closer towards us. Forgive me that I'm not looking at the camera, by the way, while I'm doing this, obviously. I'm focusing on the painting. I'm not putting any curvature. So I'm not worried about it at the moment. And the trees at its thickest is just here. And the trees, actually, it's amazing how they grow in the sand, close to the sea. But they come out and then swoop down and hang over the sea. Look absolutely amazing. Right, so we'll do the shadows first. So we're using black. I've spread it out. We'll put a little bit of brown in there as well for the shadows. And what we're going to do, I'm going to use a smaller knife for this one. We're now going to create the curvature of the tree and how the ridges of the growth, they grow in steps, and each year's growth will have about half a dozen ridges in it. Because each leaf creates a bit of a ridge. So as you can see, I'm just putting a bit of curvature. I'm going from the bottom up and creating a bit of curvature. Screen is going blank. Thank you, screen. I tried to switch it off, but I can't stop it. Every 15 minutes, it goes blank. Preserving its battery. Grumpy. Tablet. And as we get closer to us, the ridges will be bigger. That's the foreshortening of the tree. And that's close enough. So then we'll do the white. Now, I spread it out on the palette so that it's thin, so that I'm not getting big blobs of paint on the knife. I only want the edges. Hopefully everybody can see. I wasn't sure whether to zoom in, but as I'm talking through the video, I thought it may be easier if I don't zoom right in, if you can see me. And every now and then I can look and see if there's any questions. I've got some questions. I'll just have a look and see. Hopefully I can answer them at the end. I'm using acrylics, by the way. Maybe I'm late in answering that one. I should have said at the start. All the art classes that I do, I paint in acrylics. just because it's forgiving and people get it all over their shirt and all over the floor and all over the venue. I paint in clubs and bars and things. I've done a few in Reading and in the corn stores. They have a private members bar there. And I've done a couple of corporate events, team building events for people. And we do it over a glass of wine. We all have a bit of fun. Everybody gets to paint with a knife. I know it's not super accurate, but use your imagination. It's contemporary. Now, these would normally be where the sun catches the top of the ridges and the shadows at the bottom of the ridges, but it's close enough for today. We've got to be fairly quick. I'll keep this. So why I paint with a knife is because I can do this. I can just wipe the colour off. Not so easy with acrylics because it starts to dry, but with oil it's very easy. And I couldn't do that with a brush. I was forever cleaning brushes and I had pots all over the place. Right, the next thing I'm going to do is the leaves of the tree. So I'll put this out of the way. Normally I'd just tear a sheet off, but it's a lot quicker if I just put that out of the way. Right, so we're going to use a darker green for the leaves that are in the shade and where the sun hits the leaves, where where we see the top of the leaf catching the sun. I'm going to do it in a lighter green. We need quite a bit of green, but we'll start with the dark green. I love earthy colours. I love browns, deep browns. My favourite paint colour is actually Van Dyke brown. So a bit strange, really, but there you go. So when I did the leaf of the oil painting, with a fine edge of the knife, I did each individual leaf, and I touched it with a very fine paint on the edge of the knife. I'm not going to do that today because it will just take so long. So I'm going to use a little device here to save time. It's sort of a toothed knife. I don't normally use these in painting. Personally, I don't like them, but to save time today, we're going to have a go with one. So the deep greens in the leaf is where we see the underside of the leaf, not facing up. It's where we see the back or the underside. So we've got a big leaf coming down here. We've got a few leaves behind the tree, and then there's a bit of a mess on top where the leaves are overlapping each other like they do when they blow in the wind and rustle. And then we've got a couple of leaves coming towards us that we're going to do in lighter green. So we'll start by doing the dark green leaves that are at the back. And if we start with the big one that comes down here, we'll have a go with that. Now, in painting with this, if I apply paint to this and put it on, you don't get much and it doesn't drag it far. So I'm going to put a thick line of paint where the center of the leaf is and then drag it outwards, and hopefully we can have a wider leaf by doing that. It's not the way I painted the original, as I said, but for today it's fine. Now the center of the tree is actually up here, but the trunk just gets hidden by the leaves, you see. Just keep an eye on the time. Got to speed up a bit. So this one comes down here and it comes right down. So let's see. Nice thick paint there. So we'll have a go with this device and let's see if this is going to work for us. I'll also put a bit of paint on to help. So you can see it's not actually dragging it very far. but it's fine. It's a fun tool to use, if nothing else. Okay. Now at the top, these leaves are hanging down with gravity. At the top, they don't stick up quite so much. I think that's enough for us there. We've got one that comes behind the tree. What I could have done was do these leaves before I do the trunk, but I decided not to. This one goes something around here. So this one at the top, it's hardly sticking out. Then we'll have a leaf goes up here, up towards, so that the centre of all the leaves, they can't grow. And these are affected by gravity there, so they're not coming down. And here they're coming down. Okay, that's fine. Then we've got another leaf over here. Now, this has got a mixture. This has got some leaves that are in the sun and some that aren't. It's fine, so that's okay. The top of the leaves are just hanging down, so there's nothing there. Then we've got big leaves over here. Speed up, Richard, we're running out of time. Put some more over here. It's a real mess of green in the centre. These are, and then we've got over here, I'll just use this. Oops. We've got a real mess of leaves going everywhere. I need some more green. There's a question. No, there isn't. Got some leaves that they're hanging down from stalks that are going out of view. Everything emulates in these trees from a central point. They're a bit messy. I love palm trees. This is a date palm. This one goes and it crosses the trunk over here. I'm trying not to make a mess of my trunk. I should have really done this before. All part of the fun. And that just hangs down. So in the centre, it's just a massive green, really. So we'll just have some texture. Then we've got a leaf coming towards us. I'm going to put some in dark green, but it's light green because it's in the sun, is that one. Right, that's all I'm going to do for that. I'm going to add some light green now. I'll put that out of the way now. Don't need my small now. I'll have a clean tissue. And we'll have a lighter green. So we'll do the leaves that come towards us. Now there's only one in this particular picture. There's only one major leaf. So that's this one. Now I put it in dark green, but I'm going to go over it. That's fine. Then we've got one coming here. The sun. Yeah. And then there's bits that are catching the sun in various locations. So I'm just going to add some bits of the leaves that are catching the sun here. It's a bit messy, but that's how trees are, it's fine. There's a few little bits here that are catching the sun. Right, and then we've got white as the sun really catches the leaves, so there's some bits of white. So just clean the knives. I have tissues that I use to wipe the knives when I'm painting, and then separate tissues for cleaning. So I need a little bit of white. Some highlights. And there's just little bits here and there. Doesn't have to be identical. It's fine. Right, and that's all I'm going to do for the tree. Right, then we've got the hammock. I think I'll have a clean palette for the hammock. I'm a little bit wasteful of paint. I'm not the same at all when I'm painting, but I'm in such a rush. So for the hammock, we've got dark brown for the spreader bars. So we'll put those on first. The spreader bars, important part of a hammock. If a hammock doesn't have spreader bars, when you get in it, it will tend to roll up all around you, turn you upside down and throw you on the sand. I know from personal experience. Great fun, but we're not going to paint that. So we've got two spreader bars, one that's closer to us, one that's further away. We'll do the one that's further away first. When I'm doing an art class, I ask the students to just draw these in, because then when you're painting, if you make a mistake, it's more difficult to remedy it. So we'll do one. We'll do one, say, here. Hanging from there. Right, so that's okay. Then we've got one. It's a bigger one. Yeah. And they don't show so much. When I did the original oil painting, I took my time to do them and did a much better job, but we're rushing it a little. Then we've got some deep yellows for the hammock, for the underside that's in the shade. So we're going to use yellow ochre for that. And the hammock, as it hangs, there are two curves. There's a curve here that goes from here down to this side, down the left side of the hammock. Now, again, if my students were here, if I was in a class, I'd tell them to draw this. I'm drawing it with paint, and that's fine. The paint underneath hasn't dried yet, so it's going to mix a little. So it's okay. And this meets with the underside of there. Okay, and it's brown on the underside. It sort of catches it just there because it's in the shade. So we'll put some brown in as well. Okay, that's fine. Then I need a lighter yellow. So I'll go back to the yellow I used in the sand. So Naples yellow. That's probably the natural colour of the hammock. Naples yellow. So do this one hanging here. And it goes down. And there's some bits just here. Then we've got white, where the sun's catching the hammock. No questions. Probably good there's no questions because I'm in such a rush. Okay, I'm using a slightly smaller knife now. So this is where the sun's catching the top of the hammock. I went over the sea a little bit there, didn't I? Just right, so now then we've got the strings that are hanging from the hammock, from the sides. So where they're in the shade, they're sort of a bit of a brown, and we've got strings hanging here. And you won't see them all the way along because they will actually go under there. So they'll get smaller there. And then we've got strings here that are really in the sun. So these are, let's put some white in and catch those. and they come and follow this line here after white. It's just where the hammock's woven with string, it just hangs down there. Then we've got the suspension. How long have we got for time? We've got to rush 9 minutes. So I need a slightly larger knife. So the knot, so this one's in the sun, the knot there, you've got a triangle that's about there, and it hangs down. So spread out, because we want nice thin paint, and forgive me, I'm fairly quick here. When I did the original oil painting, I could take a lot more time. Same principle, I just took more time. And the rope hangs down from the tree at an angle because it's in one large loop, comes down slightly in the shade at the top, darker brown. And then we've got the rope that comes around the tree. Goes around there. Then at the other side, now we've got the knot is about here, should we say? No, it's in the shade here, just from the tree. There. And then it starts to go less shade, so if they change colour, it would be great to spread them all out equally and make them look beautiful, but I haven't got time. A bit more yellow ochre. Rushing towards the end, but having fun. They don't actually have to be too accurate because your mind is going to fill in where they go anyway. That's close enough. And then this rope goes an angle up here. It's darker at the top because it's in the shade. A little bit of darkness there. We've got the knot here. There's a real bunch of ropes there. And the rope goes around the tree. And then we need some white highlights. I'll move that out of the way just now. So we need a few white highlights on the rope because it's in the sun. Oops, that one was a little thick. Forgive me. I wish I had 2 hours to paint this, not an hour. There's quite a few elements to it, but it's fun. And it's a dreary day, and we all want to go to the Caribbean and have a holiday. I know I do. Right, that's okay for the hammock. Then we need a quick shadow, which we'll do in grey. I'll just get rid of that. Get rid of the scene that one. 4 minutes to go. We started a few minutes late, so hopefully Effie will be kind to me. Right, so we want some grey for the shadow. there's some brown in as well. So grey and brown is fine. I'll use this size of palette knife. So I've got a few sizes of palette knife. This is sort of a medium. This is a small one. That's what I use for all the detail on my paintings when I'm doing faces and fingers and things. This one I use for arms and legs and larger things. Right, so the shadow of the tree is over here by the shore, and it sort of goes all the way across. Start from here, so the trunk of the tree is coming across down here, and then we've got the hammock there. I'll use this just to give us some effect of the leaves a little. And I use a darker brown just in places where the shadows are quite deep. Not got much brown left there, but running out of time. And that's just about my hour. Right, I'm going to leave it at that. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll move the camera if I can to show you the painting. Feel free to ask any questions and I'll answer them. I can see quite a lot of questions coming in now. I'm just looking at the questions. I don't know if I've got to go. I can take the time. Not many questions, yes. Right. Which type of painting knives? Right. I bought a set of 6. I love these that have a rubber handle. I've got some with a wooden handle. The wooden handle ones, when I wash them in the sink afterwards, they swell and they're not quite so good. These that have the rubber plastic handle are the best by far. You can buy a set of 6. You get all the basic ones from such as, I don't know if Hobbycraft have them, I think they do, but I think I bought mine from Cass Art. And I use a fine one for the detail of my paintings. If you look at one of my oil paintings, very detailed, especially around the face and the eyes and things. And I use that. I use this medium size for the larger elements. I use this for the background. And I've got some other ones such as this. And the good thing about things like this, it's got a curved section in case you don't want a hard edge to it. And the flat sections are quite good as well. So a set of 6 basically. But when you're painting with a knife, have fun, be free flowing and enjoy it and practice moving around and moving the paint. And it really should be like butter in toast. But when you do more detail, such as I do with my figurative paintings, then you can take your time and rest and use a marl stick and things and do the fine details. In another course, I'll maybe do a session where I'll focus on just painting an eye or a small detailed element as opposed to a whole contemporary style painting. So that's it. If I'm still on, I'll just disconnect the camera and show you the painting from the front. So you can see. Fairly contemporary. I hope it's okay, and thank you very much for joining me. Feel free to send me a friend request on Facebook, view my website, follow me if you wish, and at the next Real Art Fair, call into my stand and say hello. Thank you, and bye.